Hi friends, it's Auntie Cuckoo, and today I have a $3 Dollar Tree DIY for you. I was inspired by a flower cart that I saw when I was at the at-home store. It was adorable and I thought it would be perfect for every season. You could do pumpkins during fall, trees during Christmas, eggs or flowers during the spring, sunflowers or lemons during the summer, but I was not in love with the price tag of $40. So I decided to create my own using a few things that I could find at the Dollar Tree on a budget. And I bet you'll never guess what I made it out of. A Dollar Tree toolbox. Next time you're in the Dollar Tree, take a look at the automotive section and grab one of these by Tool Bench. You'll also want to head over to the party supplies and pick up a bag of the favors that are tops. This year I am loving green, and we had some leftover spray paint from a project that the kids did. So I grabbed my green spray paint and headed outside to spray my box. This will look great in any color you choose. Once I got my toolbox inside, I wasn't in love with this shade of green, and I'm just using paint I have on hand. So I took out some craft paints to sort of knock down the brightness of this green and give it a little bit of depth and texture. I also like using an almost completely dry brown brush with the smallest amount of brown paint on it, just to dry brush over the surface, almost like a whitewash, but giving it that aged, rusty look. Also, be sure to hit any crevices, nooks, areas that rust would settle in. It really adds that antique look that I'm looking for. Now, if you were using something like silver or white, you may want to use black instead of the brown. Now let's get on to the post for our flower cart. For this, I pulled out some paint sticks. We've been doing a lot of projects and gave them a quick sanding. Once you've given them a sanding on both sides, go ahead and paint them any color you choose. I chose brown for a really rustic wood look. Be sure to paint both sides of your paint sticks and don't forget about those edges. And because I'm looking for a rustic look, I dry brushed on a bit of white paint once they were done drying. Now onto our roof. For this, you'll need a pack of the craft sticks from the Dollar Tree. There are 60 in a pack, and I have taken from it for other projects in the past, but you'll roughly need about 50. These are going to act as the shingles on the roof of our craft cart. Now, before we get to hot gluing down our shingles, we've got a bit of camouflaging to do. Take 3 of your popsicle sticks and go ahead and cut off the rounded edges. These are going to act as pieces of trim to hide the fact that this is actually a toolbox lid on our flower cart roof. Then use your hot glue to attach them to the very front. Now you'll notice that I also spray painted the lid of my toolbox. This isn't completely necessary, I just wasn't sure how much of it would end up showing through the shingles. Go ahead and hot glue down a piece of trim on both sides of where the lock would be on our toolbox. Then take your centerpiece and use a little bit of hot glue to cover up the fact that there was a lock on this toolbox. Now it's time for our shingles. For this, I took 19 popsicle sticks and I went ahead and cut off one end of the rounded edges. That is going to be the back portion. We're going to have all of the rounded points facing forward. So just continue using your hot glue, adding one stick at a time. Now don't make the mistake that I did by having the rounded edges come too far up. Make sure that they overlap the trim pieces in the front. It was easily remedied, but I want to save you guys the trouble. Continue using your hot glue to add one shingle at a time, making sure you line them up at the front. And don't worry at all if they don't match up along the back edge. We're going to cover that up. As you can see, when you get to the handle portion, it can get a little bit tricky. So I have figured out that just putting a bit of hot glue on any raised portion works just fine. You'll also notice that the handle is missing. You're going to want to take that off before you get started on your shingles, and you'll see why soon. Once all your shingles are down on the top, be sure to cover those side edges with another piece of trim. And now for more shingles. Take 19 of your popsicle sticks and cut them with the idea that you're going to want one piece that's about a third of the stick and the other piece in about 2/3. One is going to be slightly longer, and that's going to be attached first, and then our smaller pieces will attach last. You're going to want your sticks to look somewhat like this. Now, once you have those cut, use those as your guide to cut the rest of your sticks. And now for our second layer of shingles. For this, you're not going to actually want to go up all the way to the edge in the back. And again, made a little mistake. I thought that I would cover each seam of the first layer of popsicle sticks with a shingle. Turns out you're actually just going to want to line them up as close as possible. So I just pulled out my blow dryer, heated it up, and fixed the first few sticks. Lesson learned. Now, once all of your middle layer is glued down, I decided it might be a good idea to go ahead and dry fit my smaller pieces. Again, there is going to be a gap along the back of your roof, and that's okay. We're going to cover it up. Continue adding all of your smallest shingles, making sure they all line up in the front on the curved edge. And just like that, we have a shingled roof. Now it's time for more trim work. We've got to address the back of this lid. For this, I took 3 more popsicle sticks, cutting off the edges on 2 and cutting off the edges on 1 of the sticks. Glue down both of your end pieces with the flat edge out first, and then go back with your centerpiece just like we did to the front of our roof to hide the lock area. Now just a little bit more finishing work. We're going to hide the gap at the back of our roof. Take 3 more of your popsicle sticks and cut off all of the rounded edges. We're going to want all of our pieces to have flat edges for this. Then use your hot glue along the very back seam. You're going to use quite a bit of glue for this step just because you almost need to create a layer of glue to hide the seam of the back of your shingles with any trim work along the back. Continue to add both sides and then go back again with your centerpiece just like we did before. And now we have a finished roof. I think it turned out super cute. So you could always paint the underside of your lid before you get started on this. I'm leaving mine black and getting started on the top, which is what everyone will see. I want to give it that wood shingle roof look, kind of like it's a cart sitting out in a field for a long time, really aged wood look. So I'm using a very wet paintbrush. I took it straight out of a cup of water and adding bits of brown paint to it, allowing just a little bit of black to hit my brush wherever it ends up. This step is very forgiving. You can always go in with more color wherever you want it. So you can see I decided to distress or add a little bit of lightness to my roof. So I brushed on some white paint in random places all over the roof, and then I took my time going back and blending it all in. Now let's set the roof aside and get started on the support for our flower cart. That's where the handle comes in. When I removed my handle from my lid, took it outside and gave it a quick coat of black spray paint. Now we're going to use some hot glue to attach it to one end of our cart. Be sure to use plenty of glue and set it aside to dry. Once it's fully dry, you can go back in and work on the posts for the roof of our cart. First, attach the back 2 posts of your roof. For this, I used a lot of glue. Make sure you have plenty of glue sticks on hand for this part. I recommend letting them dry completely and set up, harden before you move on to the front post. Now for your front posts, you're going to want them shorter. So I just took them in hand and cracked off the handles. It doesn't matter that they're not a finished edge. We're going to be hot gluing that portion down into our cart anyways. Just make sure they're roughly the same size or height and that they line up with your back posts when you're hot gluing them in. And as you can see, I'm sparing no hot glue for this one. Be sure to hold your post in place until it is pretty much dried. Then you can go on to adding your last post, making sure it also lines up with the back post. And now for attaching the roof of our cart. As you can see, the bottom half of this lid has lots of ridges, and that's really helpful when you're hot gluing this to a cart. So I'm going to warn you, the posts do not line up perfectly with the roof. but with a little bit of patience and a whole lot of hot glue, it worked out just fine. So first I'm attaching my front posts, and you can see I'm using a lot of glue securing them into the ridge on the front edge of the lid. Now we're going to move on to the back posts. Now there are grooves along the back, and there's also where it attached to the base of the toolbox. I used my hot glue to secure my posts right in between those two. So a lot of glue, a lot of holding in place until it dried, and repeating the process on the other side. Now for the wheels on our cart. For this, I'm using some of the party favors that are little spinning tops. I took my top and I actually soaked it in a bowl of water overnight, hoping that sticker would fall off. It didn't, but I took it outside and gave it a coat of spray paint on both sides, let it dry, and then I brought it in and used some white paint for some detail work. Now this is our finished and fully dried cart, so we're going to attach our wheels. For this, I dry fitted my wheels to where I thought that they would naturally lie. I'm also going to try and give them as much height as possible so that it matches with our handle in height. I wanted my wheels to be a little more sturdy, so using quite a bit of glue and a few pieces of leftover popsicle sticks, I created a little L shape and hot glued that in the back of our wheels for more stability. And that's all there is to creating this really cute Dollar Tree DIY with just 3 things that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. I'm in love with my new little cart, and I can't wait to use it for every season. Comment down below and let me know how you would use this little cart in your home. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you back very soon.